This is the city of Juarez, located within the country of Mexico and just off the border of Texas. Since 1993, more than 370 women have been brutally murdered here. Yet, authorities seem indifferent and unable to apprehend culprits. They have failed to conduct adequate investigations and have even gone as far as to destroy evidence and threaten victims of families to drop their cases. The corpses of the victims are now marked by pink crosses in memory of their lives and serve as a symbol for justice. However, the situation in Juarez has alluded to a much larger issue that is plaguing Mexico: femicide. Defined by the World Health Organization as, quote, the intentional murder of women because they're women.
Either the husband or the boyfriend. Some of these are done by organized crime, but many of these are done, that's why they're called crimes of passion, but they're not really crimes of passion. They're murders. These women are being killed. It's definitely something that we know, even to the point where I have to ask my relatives, is it safe for me to go visit Mexico right now as a female? Now we hear things where women go and they disappear. They totally they don't know where they're at. And that's so scary because, you're thinking, well, what is the government doing?
As of 2019, a total of 10 women are violently killed per day in Mexico, many of these going unreported. Femicide, along with other forms of gender violence such as rape and assault, made up of about 200,000 recorded cases in the same year. All statistics point to the fact that gender-based violence is a public health crisis, one that exposes the failure of Mexico's legal institutions to safeguard the rights and lives of women. However, the issue has also ignited a fire in Latin American feminism. It has fostered an international movement that has only grown louder as more and more women band together to fight for their lives.
This is a story for my friend, and I feel comfortable telling you this because I asked her beforehand, and she is in Mexico right now, and this happened like about 2 years ago. She had not a boyfriend, but someone who wanted to be her boyfriend, and she always rejected him, and he was like following her all the time. And one day he and his friends tried to get into her house, and the intention was to abuse her. She wasn't at home, and her grandma was home alone. They killed her grandma and raped her after that. Her grandma wasn't in the story. Her grandma wasn't in the equation. So they just did that because they already were at home, and they I don't know. Sorry.
One of the major culprits of violence in general against women of Mexico is the cultural idea of machismo, a set of beliefs that reinforce that men are superior to women. Within these sets of beliefs lies the idea of Marianismo. This is the Christian idea that reinforces that women are supposed to be chaste and must fulfill motherly roles in the family.
Los hombres pueden salir a fiestas, pueden tener más de una relación y no se les dice absolutamente nada. Centrándonos en México, siempre todo movimiento histórico, guerras, revoluciones, siempre centraron la atención dentro de personajes, en este caso, con características que nos regresan al machismo, que se pueden emborrachar y podían llegarle a pegar a su esposa. Todos esos sinfín de acciones que demostraban faltas al respeto hacia una mujer y que las personas alrededor aplaudían porque ese era un hombre.
Both ideas of hypermasculinity and hyperfemininity originated during colonial Mexico, when Spanish men would exert military dominance over the indigenous populations. Meanwhile, women were converted to Christianity, and taught to act like the Virgin Mary, a virgin and a mother. Today, although these traditional gender roles do not directly cause the violence against women, they perpetuate female discrimination that leaves them vulnerable to physical harm. In legal cases regarding female victims of violence, judges are predominantly males and have blatant biases in favor of male criminals.
I think there's no one answer. I think there's definitely corruption. I think there's a lot of buying off, the judges. I think depending on how wealthy the perpetrator is, the husband or the partner, whoever that is, the more influence they have, then it's harder to go, and seek justice. I definitely think there's that mentality, bias mentality of like, maybe she asked for it. If a woman's walking down, because I've read a lot about this too, that a lot of the judges are like, well, maybe she asked for it because she was wearing that skirt, or she asked for it because she was, wearing the high heels, or because so that mentality again of that machismo, well, what is she doing to cause that? Which is the wrong conversation we're supposed to be having.
We've also seen vulnerabilities in the female workforce. In the late 20th century, a wave of independent working class women swept the industrial labor market. Many of these women, escaping their domestic roles in their families, lacked educational resources and were forced into taking up low-wage jobs. In underdeveloped cities such as the aforementioned Juarez, women took up jobs in maquiladoras, or large factories that often had extremely low wages, poor working conditions, and little protections or compensation for women. These women would have to expose themselves to dangerous streets while walking alone to work and have zero income mobility to move out of these crime-filled cities.
Of domestic violence has risen since the pandemic, and an average of 10 women a day are killed across Mexico. Less than 5% of these femicides lead to convictions. Why is it that your government is failing women and allowing total impunity?
Nunca se había protegido tanto a las mujeres de México como ahora. En México no se violan derechos humanos.
So what is the government doing about these issues? Not much. Mexico has shown a history of complacency regarding gender violence. According to the National Institute of Statistics and Geography, about 93% of crimes go unreported or uninvestigated within large cities. One of the major causes of this is attributed to the police and judicial system. Of these cases, 31.7% were viewed by authorities as a waste of time. 17.4% involved a distrust in authorities. 8.9% were related to long legal processes. And in 4.3% of cases, authorities were hostile. Even if these crimes reach the court, they are likely to be dismissed and uninvestigated. All of this incentivizes perpetrators to continue to commit these crimes because they know they won't get caught. At a national level, little has yet to be done. The current president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, has downplayed the issues. When asked about the increased emergency calls of gender violence within Mexico, he claimed, quote, 90% of those calls that serve as your base are false. It's proven. He also passed a 75% budget cut for the Federal Women's Institute that house victims of domestic abuse, urging that instead they should be given a cash payment. In fact, in 2020, the Mexican government issued a campaign that urged families to simply, quote, count to 10 to calm down and mitigate domestic violence.
Cuenta.
Cuenta hasta 10.
Y saca la bandera blanca de la paz. Recuerda, si necesitas ayuda, cuentas con nosotros.
Llama al 911. Gobierno de México.
Y si me ves de negro y soy un radical, y si quemo y rompo y hago un pinche despadre en esta ciudad, ¿cuál es su pinche problema? A mí me mataron a mi hija, yo no soy una colectiva. Ni necesito un tambor, ni necesito un pinche partido político que me represente. Yo me represento sola y sin micrófono. Yo soy una madre que me mataron a mi hija. Y si yo soy una madre empoderada y feminista, Y estoy que me carga la chingada. Tengo todo el derecho a quemar y a romper. No le voy a pedir permiso a nadie, porque yo estoy rompiendo por mi hija. Y la que quiera romper, que rompa. Y la que quiera quemar, que queme. Y la que no nos estorbe. Porque antes de que...
Despite legal failures, women have begun to take matters into their own hands and protest for reforms. In 2015, 14-year-old Chiara Perez was brutally beaten and buried alive by her 16-year-old boyfriend in the city of Rufino, Argentina. After news broke out, many had enough. Not too long after, activist and journalist Marcela Ojeda posted a call to action on Twitter, urging, quote, actresses, politicians, artists, businesswomen, social activists, women, everyone, aren't we going to raise our voices? They're killing us. Before she knew it, her tweet went viral. It sparked a large protest in Buenos Aires, Argentina, fighting for justice for Chiara and other femicide victims. Under the hashtag Ni Una Menos, or Not One Less, the movement has spread to Bolivia, Chile, Mexico, Peru, Paraguay, Uruguay, and El Salvador. The movement has also branched out to other aspects of women's issues, such as abortion rights, the gender pay gap, and sexual harassment.
They wear like the colors green and purple, and they go out in the streets to like bring attention to the movement. And they don't do like a peaceful protest. They like destroy some things and paint on the walls and things like that. First they tried to do it like peacefully, and it didn't bring any attention, so they started to do like a little more extreme movement. Now with after these movements, even if they are extreme, they are working.
Bueno, el Día de la Mujer fue la primera vez que fui a una marcha y justo al inicio tenía miedo porque iba a ir sola y me decían, mis familiares me decían, ¿cómo vas a ir sola si eso es peligroso? Si en el camino te pueden reconocer por ir vestida de negro, no sé, te pueden hacer algo malo porque ven que vas a esos lugares. Y bueno, al final me fui sola igual por el miedo, tuve que ir acompañada, me llevaron, ahí me reuní con amigas y toda la inseguridad que se siente alrededor, ahí se desvanece, como que estando rodeada de mujeres, te sientes en un lugar seguro, más seguro que nada ahí.
And their voices have been heard. As of 2021, a law known as the Olympia Law passed, which makes digital harassment such as revenge porn a punishable offense of up to 6 years in prison. Of course, this is just the first step in systemic reform, but it's clear that the people of Latin America have the ability to facilitate real change.